Welcome to the Author Your Life podcast, where you can write a new script for your life and become the hero of your story. I'm your host, David McRae. You are the author of your life. Let's get started.
All you have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to you.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
It is not our abilities that show what we truly are. It is our choices.
Hello, story changers, and welcome back to another episode of the Author Your Life podcast. Today kicks off a very special series, the Isolation Inspiration Interview Series. Over the next 12 weeks, I'm going to be bringing you voices of hope and inspiration during these dark times. Amazing people who've overcome amazing adversity and accomplished amazing things. Hopefully showing you that this is just another challenge, another adversity that we can overcome as individuals and as a collective. Kicking off the series today, we have Sera Johnston. Sera is an international expert supporting and empowering parents of children with disabilities. Having combined a highly successful 25-year training and development career with her personal journey of raising her daughter Dana, following her life-changing diagnosis of cerebral palsy at 13 months old, Sera knows firsthand what it's like to suddenly have your world change in a heartbeat. In 2011, Sera fundraised £75,000 in 6 months in order for her daughter to have a life-changing operation called Selective Dorsal Rhizotomy in America. Over the years, with her mother's support, Dana has gone on to defy the professionals who predicted she would not be able to hold a pen and would be confined to a wheelchair for life. Today, having achieved 3 distinction stars in her 6th form exam results, Dana is not confined to a wheelchair and lives independently, studying for her law degree at university. Sera was one of the experts on the NHS steering group with UK neurosurgeons, NICE, NHS England and health professionals, which resulted in NHS England approving Selective Dorsal Rhizotomy as a commissioned NHS service for children aged 3 to 9 with cerebral palsy. Trusted for her caring and supportive approach, personal experience and authenticity, a master NLP practitioner, executive coach and health coach, Sera has become a highly sought-after coach and mentor, helping to change the lives of women raising children with disabilities around the world, helping them to reclaim their identity, health and happiness. As a highly experienced consultant in training, leadership, and team development, working with employers, organizations, and charities, Sera is regularly commissioned to work with leaders and managers on a strategic level, in addition to facilitating bespoke team away days to enable better collaborative working within teams and stakeholders. Sera is one of the leading specialists working at the Royal Marsden NHS Foundation Trust in management development, team development, and coaching. A speaker and author of Dana's Walk and co-author of Transforming Your Life, in addition to working with mothers of children with disabilities around the world, Sera empowers others to create their own identity and live a life of no limits. In our interview today, you will learn there is always a solution if you don't take no for an answer, how Sera's daughter has taught her about not putting limits on ourselves, the importance of getting time for yourself, why coronavirus should be making us think about who we want to be when the pandemic ends. You're going to learn this and so much more in this interview with Sera Johnston. Sera, welcome to the Author Your Life podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Right off the bat, Sera, I want to hand the floor over to you. And could you share with us today a little bit about your story and the work that you do?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sera. I live in the UK in Surrey. I'm mum to a 21-year-old daughter who was diagnosed at 13 months with cerebral palsy. So obviously bringing her up during that time was quite challenging. And as a result of my journey, I now coach and mentor and train other mothers raising children with disabilities as well. So my background is in training and development. So I thought with my life experience and my professional experience, I'd combine the two. I'm also a published author twice. The first book is about my daughter's journey. So it's about from before birth right through to 13. She actually underwent major surgery at age 13 that actually transformed her life, changed her life, and made her more independent. Now, it actually also documents her journey through school, through growing up, and all the challenges that she's faced as a child, and all the challenges we faced and I faced as a mother, and also all the bureaucrats, all the kind of red tape. And it's really tough because when she was my firstborn, so when you're a first-time mum, it's challenging anyway, isn't it? Because there are loads of books out there. Of course there are. You can read lots of things. Yet when you're faced and when you're told your child has a disability, you're suddenly in this world that you know nothing about. Nobody in our family, both sides, has a disability. So this was new for me. And of course, I was guided by those that I thought knew what they were talking about. Yet their views were very biased. And obviously with my coaching and training hat on, I was always questioning, and I was always wondering why they said that and what was the outcome of that. And if we did this, what would that result? So there was always an underlining, kind of, I needed a bit more explanation than just being told to do something and do it. And also I questioned them a lot because I did a lot of research. You become, if there was a PhD in learning medical terminology for parents, I'd get it. You become an expert in your child's disability. Believe me, you do a lot of research, you find all the treatments from around the world. And at age, I think she was 12 at the time, I found this operation in America. Researched it, spoke to the surgeon, etc. Never met him. We met him the day before the surgery. We flew to America, and she had the surgery, and it was life-changing. And the other thing is always have the self-belief that your child and you can do anything. It's just a matter of mindset. So I didn't work with her. It was a natural development that she gained the belief that anything was possible, even though her teacher said, you've got to have a plan B. When she said she wanted to go to university, they said it wasn't for her. They said, no, well, they didn't say people like you. They implied that it wasn't for her, that she should perhaps do a lesser qualification, if at all, carry on at school, actually, because she was ridiculed. When she said she wanted to do a certain type of profession, she was ridiculed. Yet she was focused, she kept maintaining that, and she's going to, well, hopefully, in the current climate, she's due to graduate after 4 years studying law. So, and it's unfortunate we're in the position we are. I'm hoping she'll get a graduation. I'm hoping, because that, for me, university was never about getting the degree. It was always about finding herself and finding who she was as a person, who she was, kind of where she fitted in society, because the disability was never, ever her. She was always the person first, and then the disability was the secondary. So she clearly had a great time over the 4 years. She lived independently, and she doesn't want to come home, to be quite honest. So she's quite happy, which is great. She's got a great circle of friends. She's, she can problem solve, and she can do things that she wouldn't have had if she remained at home, really. And hopefully the final piece is just seeing her in her gown and just getting that picture, because that to me was, I don't know, it's just a really, really proud moment as any mother, but this is extra special, really.
Yeah, definitely. I want to pick out a few things in what you've shared with us so far. And I think the first place to start is with that initial information and the initial diagnosis. What's going through your mind? What does life feel like at that particular point when it all kind of comes to light?
Yeah, and I speak about this a lot when I give my talks, and it is in that moment you feel the rug has been pulled away. Your life suddenly just is shattered. Everything that you knew, you believed to be true, and everything you've been told in terms of milestones, in terms of, you know, building this picture of a life together and having this little girl that you'll be able to do lots of things as she grows up, walking her down the aisle, just little things, her having a gap year, traveling the world, just suddenly in that split second has disappeared. So, and what I'm finding and the work that I'm doing, it's just really, really upsetting that how I was told all those years ago, little has changed. To the parents that have been told today, little has changed. There is hardly any support for the mother. There's support for the child, of course there is, but the mother is expected to just get on with it and expected to follow whatever's been told, yet their mental health and well-being is not being looked after at all. The scenarios that go on their head, for me, being told at that time, I remember as if it was yesterday, in a room, and the paediatrician just saying, your child has cerebral palsy. And I just had to double take. I said, sorry, what did you just say? It was like she was saying, I had a roast dinner last night. It was that kind of tone. I was like, sorry, what does that mean? Oh, she might be a bit slow, and she might be a bit slower than others, and maybe not keep up with her peers, and we'll get you kind of referred, and, you know, you'll have physio. And it was like that. It was just very a matter of fact. And my husband and I, literally, we looked at her in a carry case thing, and I was just like, no, she's normal. You know, you just think she hasn't got any signs. And we, no word of a lie, we both walked out of that room, we went into our car, and we just burst into tears. We just cried, because we thought, what the hell? What does this mean? And we would given nothing. We were given no information, nothing at all. It was just like literally the rug had been pulled underneath, and you're literally kind of in the air and not knowing kind of what to do. And of course we came home, we went on Google, and it was, oh my goodness, it was horrific. It was, I can't tell you the images that I saw, and it was just, I was looking at the screen, I was looking at her, looking at the screen, looking at her, and thinking, no, that can't be possible. It like, you know, you just can't fathom, you can't make sense of it. And it was hard. It was very hard.
What are some of the adaptations that you then had to find yourself making, not just in the sort of immediate months afterwards, but what are the adaptations that you've actually made during this entire period? Because it's a job that has never stopped. It's a job that's still ongoing for you as a parent.
Absolutely. I think after I got over the shock, it was a case, because I'm a very kind of methodical and action person. And I think my professionalism kicked in then. I wasn't a mother, and I kind of, right, okay, so we've got this diagnosis. What do we do about it? You know, what do I need to help her? What do we, you know, because I didn't understand about cerebral palsy. I didn't understand that there were so many variations. There was, you know, it depends on the severity and the type, that no two children are the same. So for me at that point was okay, we're going to have physio. That was the first thing. Okay, so I had to phone a number. So I phoned the number and I was told, no, sorry, your physio's on holiday. So, okay, so what do you think I did? I didn't accept that. I've just been told my child's got cerebral palsy and she needs physio, and you're telling me my physio's on holiday. Not good enough. So I said, not my problem, find me another physio. I'm not hanging up until you find me another physio. I phoned up to make an appointment and and it was like that. That was literally how my life then continued. It was, don't give me no, don't tell me it can't be done, find a way. And it was that through school, through just everything, through medical interventions, you know, through orthotics, because she had to have splints. She had to have, we took her to Hungary for conductive education as well, quite a few times a year. And we adapted the house to have kind of rails, parallel bars that she could walk in between to help her kind of with her mobility. Different standing frames, so she could stand and then use her hands to you know, do activities and stuff. And her cerebral palsy is just her legs, her mobility. So she walks with sticks now. Cognitively, she's okay. So, you know, and that's why I think after time, obviously she saw me and what I was modeling, and she kind of picked up on that kind of, you know, assertiveness and that kind of determination. So yeah, so it was we were in a fortunate position that if it wasn't available at that time, we bought it. So there wasn't, and it is difficult for a lot of parents because they have to wait so many months sometimes. And you want it now because your child grows. You know, your child is not an object, it's a living being. And you know, they don't kind of really get it. They get it, but they don't get it. You know, it's really, really difficult. So we were in a fortunate position that whatever we had to get, we bought. So we bought her wheelchair, we bought all her adaptations, whatever was needed. If there was stuff in the shower, we bought rails, we got people in to do it, you know. So time wasn't a factor because if it needed to be done, it needed to be done. And I wasn't going to have somebody tell me, sorry, we haven't got the time, or, you know, you're in a list and you're probably the 5th, 6th person, 10th person to be seen, you know. But we still were in the system because of school. We needed to be part of the system. With the hospitals, we needed to be part of the system. But it was frustrating. It was, and if that could be better, that would solve so many issues as far as mothers are concerned, because, you know, the majority of cases, it's the mum that takes on the responsibility. And I was still working, I was in senior management at the time. So I still had that responsibility in my work. And that for me, it wasn't a lifeline, but it was actually, I could move away from being the mum and actually be me, but yet I wasn't being me because I was hiding behind my professional label and saying everything's all right. You know, I'm very confident, I'm very competent, and I can do this, and I got on with it. But yet deep down, I was losing me. I was losing who I was professionally, and also as a mum. I lost who I was, really. And that was something that was a real shock, because, you know, overcoming depression and you know, just all the kind of, if you know the grief model, 5 stages of grief. Literally every mother goes through that, and I always use it in my coaching, because I never got to acceptance, got to acceptance. And only when I started to discover me did I get to acceptance as well, because I was going through denial, anger, back to denial, you know, and those weren't things that I would admit, You know,
Yeah.
it was because I was covering it up with either being at work and doing what I needed to do, or being at home and caring for Dana, my daughter. So there was a label, you know, there was always a label. So yeah, so that was a real eye opener.
Yeah. What really struck me as you were talking there was this tenacity, and you actually used the words determination as you're describing everything. Is this a trait of your personality that you've always had, or was it something that rose as the situation arose?
I've always been, you know, my personality is quite strong. I'm a strong person, strong-willed, and I do get things done. This did knock me because I did go into victim mode. I did go into poor me, why me? It's not fair. And looking back, it's completely normal. Of course, it's completely normal, because when something happens to us, you know, we can't look at it and saying it's happening for us. Now I know it happened for me because it's led me on this journey. But at that time, it was happening to me. And why is it happening to me? You know, and it's not fair, and it's so-and-so's fault, and they're not doing that. And then, you know, so I did fall into that trap. Yeah, I also, enough, I can't carry on the way I'm going. And I knew something had to change. So that's when I started to, I suppose, recognize what it is that I needed to do. And the first thing was, what did I enjoy doing? I loved exercise. I loved running. So that was right. Let's get the gym stuff on and let's start running. You know, started meditation. So I started to relax my mind. So then I completely did a 360. So I actually, what I train others, I did myself. And we're the worst, aren't we, really, as coaches and trainers? You know, we're really great at helping others, yet we don't really do much ourselves. So this was a real wake-up call. You know, meditation was great, and then I went on to do more training. So I did NLP, so I became master practitioner, and then I went into health coaching, and then I did the health coaching qualification. And so I kind of built, you know, I needed to have that learning back. I needed to kind of develop myself as well.
Mm-hmm. This is something that I encounter a lot, and exactly as you say, when you're in a position where you are giving any kind of expertise to people, often you can't take the expertise that you give in the variety of forms that it comes. Do you think there's any way that, I'm sure there'll be people listening to this who go, yeah, that's me. I can tell people what to do, but I can't take my own advice. Do you think there's any way that you can get over this kind of cognitive sort of distortion that we have, so that you can do what you would tell other people to do?
Absolutely. And I think it's very much, it's an NLP technique. So it's about, you know, moving your position. So move to either a chair or another place in the room and actually be someone else. So if you were giving advice to someone else, what would you say? So you then kind of switch position, really. So and also doing that, but also self-reflection, you know, give yourself that space to self-reflect, and give yourself that space to actually not come from there, come from your heart. Don't let this interrupt, because our minds are there to protect us. You know, it's easy for us to say to ourselves, oh, don't do that. Or, no, you don't want to do that. It's not for you. Or, stay as you are. You're more comfortable there because that's what you know. So this is about switching off. What is it that your heart is telling you? What do you think your gut, you know, what's your gut telling you? What you think is right? And just allow yourself that space to come, to let it flow, to just let it come up, because it's not scripted, is it? You know, it's, if you can detach this and let that rest for a bit, you know, just give it a bit of time off, say, thank you very much, you're not useful to me at the moment. I just want you to stay quiet for a little bit, and then just become kind of centered and aligned.
Mm-hmm. Some of what you've been describing has preempted a question that I wanted to ask, and what I was hearing constantly throughout all of your accounts is that the onus is only placed on the person who's experiencing the disability, and not the people who are supporting that same person. And you've started to describe a little bit already what I wanted to kind of pick into a little bit more, in terms of, in your role where you are having to be a carer, what are you doing to maintain your energy levels, to maintain your health, to maintain your sanity? You've started to describe some of these things already. Is there anything that you haven't mentioned that you think is really important to share with people?
I think it's making time for you. And I hear all the time mothers saying, I haven't got time. I haven't got time. I'm looking after the children on my own. I haven't got 5 minutes to myself. Yes, you do. You're making excuses. And it's actually looking at your day and saying, where can I actually substitute something? So less of TV. You know, you don't need to sit in front of the television 20, I'm not saying you do it 24/7, but you know, I mean, that can actually be cut. Yes, watch a film, great. You can do that as a family. You can watch a film. There are other times that really you don't need to watch TV. And it's about feeding your mind with the things that are going to be helpful to you, not the things that actually are going to be toxic to you. And the people around you, really notice who you're hanging around with. I mean, not maybe, you know, it doesn't actually matter whether you're physically with them or whether you're on social media with them. Do they make, a question you just ask yourself, when I speak to this person, how do they make me feel? Do they make me feel really great and uplifting? Or do they really suck my energy and I feel, oh God, I feel worse than I did when I started to talk to them? So really tune in to who you're hanging around with, because it really does have a huge impact on the way you are. And the other thing is, notice what you can control. Because when it comes to your child and caring for your child, there are a lot of things you can't control. And if you can't control them, find a way to actually be at peace with that. And actually, you know, even if it's, okay, I can't control when, I don't know, I'm seeing a consultant or whatever. What can I do in the meantime that will make it better for you? Or what is it that I need to do to answer that question or whatever? There's another way to find the solution, but focus on what you can control and focus your energy on that rather than what you can't control.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, what lessons have you learned from your daughter?
Oh my goodness, huge, huge. Oh my God, where do I start? She has taught me that do not put limits on what you think you're capable of. Do not judge based on what you're seeing at face value straight away. Do not listen to hearsay. Do not take on board other people's issues. And she's also pushed me over the edge as well sometimes because she doesn't see herself as disabled, okay, at all. So whereas I'm I'm not cautious, but I'm aware that there may be things that perhaps, I don't know, she may find a bit difficult. No, not her. she will do whatever, you know, she does climbing, indoor climbing. How she does it, I have no clue how she does it, but she does. Yeah, I enjoy that, you know. And she's, you know, as a student, she goes clubbing, she goes to all sorts of clubs, and she drinks. And I had a mother say, how can you allow her to drink alcohol? She's got cerebral palsy. And I said, how do I stop her drinking and going to clubs? She is an independent woman who wants to. Why should I be placing limits? So where I probably wouldn't have encouraged her to do that had she been at home, you know, she's taught me that, okay, there is, you know, there's life and I'm living it. And that is the biggest lesson, isn't it? There's no limits at all. Doesn't matter what disability you have, there is always a way. And that is the biggest lesson.
It's funny, the first thing you said was not placing limits on yourself. I had a guest on the podcast a couple months ago now, and he's a quadriplegic, and he said exactly the same thing, that he doesn't place limits on himself. And he says, in my flat, I live 100% independent. I only have one adaptation. I need an adaptation to pull the blinds down, and everything else I can do by myself. And I was stunned by that, because I was like, wow, I thought you'd have this like really kind of gizmo gadgety flat and you'd have all of these things that would allow you to do all the stuff. And he was like, no, I just have a special instrument that helps me pull down the blinds, and everything else I can do by myself. I was really
and I can relate to that, because, you know, I vowed to myself I would not make my house a disabled house. I vowed to. The only thing that was consistent throughout her growing up was she had a bar kind of outside the front porch. Well, I mean, we had an open porch anyway, but there was a step, so she needed to hold on to something to stand up. And we had an extra rail on the wall to go up the stairs, and some bars in the shower to hold on.
Yeah.
But that was it. That was it. Everything else, the kitchen, you know, everything else, it was normal, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, because I wanted her, she needed to find a way. And that's why she's able to live independently. Yes, she's got a disabled room because the bathroom is bigger, because she can move with her frame and have a wet room kind of thing to go in the shower. And that's what we did. So there are adaptations in that way, but the wet room's nice because at the end of the day, it's a bigger space, and I love big showers. So you know, it's for us, it's a family bathroom. So, but there isn't, and we've moved since then, and there isn't really anything in this house. If she ever comes back, I very much doubt it.
So I'd like to start pulling things out from this sort of local sort of situation, this local experience, to our global experience. And we haven't mentioned the elephant in the room yet, but we all know what's going on right now. We have this global pandemic that we're facing. First of all, how are you coping? How are you holding up?
It's great. It's great. The thing I've discovered, the biggest light bulb moment I've discovered this week is that so I work from home normally, but I do, you know, like you go out to meetings and stuff and whatever, the training. So you put your shoes on and stuff. I've noticed that if I keep my slippers on, my mind thinks that I'm still in home mode. So I have to put either my trainers or my shoes or my boots or whatever on and then start working. And I've only just discovered that. And I think that I need to make the switch between work and being at home and relaxing, you know? So weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who would think footwear would actually make a difference? But it does. It did to me. But yeah, we're fine. you know, I'm going running in the morning. If I'm doing any kettlebells, I do them in the garden. Meditation as usual, smoothie as usual, you know, everything as it is normally. The only downside is just going out when you want to go out. That's the only restriction. But I think, you know, it's so beautiful out there. It's, you know, make the most of what you have. It's around you, and the beauty of it is there's no pollution, the birds are singing. It is lovely. It is absolutely lovely. And I was saying to my husband yesterday, oh, it's the weekend, what shall we do? And he looked at me. Okay, not the answer. What I was wanting is we can go in the garden, we can spend some time in the garden, tidy it up, you know, all the things that we we didn't have time for, but we say we haven't got time, but we have. But at least we can have a project.
It's funny you're talking about the slippers. Even before everything, I've heard all sorts of weird stories from people who work at home and what they have to do to kind of get that distinction between play and work. And the favorite one that I've heard so far is this guy, and what he has to do is at 9 o'clock in the morning, he opens his front door, walks out, locks up, and then he opens his front door, goes in, and that's him in what he's left the house. And he has entered work, and at 5 o'clock he has to do the same thing: open his front door, go out, lock the door, unlock it, come back in, and then he's in work mode. And that's what he's found he needs to do in order to get into the different mindsets. So you hear all these funny sort of like techniques and strategies people use. Yeah,
wow, that's brilliant, isn't it? That's brilliant. Oh, yeah. I think mine's less drastic.
What suggestions would you make to people during this time to just sort of get through it, stay healthy, stay sane?
That's interesting, because I'm doing a series of lives at the moment in the afternoon, and I'm picking topics. The biggest thing I think is actually reframing the words that you use. So, you know, a lot of people saying I'm stuck indoors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you just change that and say I'm safe staying indoors, you know, that actually, it calms you. It actually changes the way you view things. So, you know, what I'm saying is, think about how you're talking to yourself. Think about the stories that you're making up in your head. And that actually sets you up really for how you are going to be throughout this time, because we don't know how long we're going to be in lockdown. And get a routine. I think that's really, really important. You know, if you're doing something on a daily basis, then keep going. Of course, not going out, but what's the alternative to that? You know, could you be, I don't know, baking, or could you be doing something else that you've been putting off? There's so many other things, and I think allow your mind to wander and to explore and be creative, because let's face it, we hopefully will never be in this position again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what a gift have we got, where the world has said stop. Okay, no one go anywhere. And how wonderful it is to start self-reflecting and given the opportunity to say, okay, what is it, when this is all over, who do I want to be and where do I want to be? Do I want to be exactly the same person as I was before this lockdown, or do I want to be someone else? If I want to be someone else, how do I get there? What do I need? And we're so connected that everything is available. There's so many free things on YouTube or wherever you are. And most people, you know, I'm offering my services for free. Most people will offer their services for free.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you'll find, you know, even Davina McCall, even, you know, Joe Wicks, or, you know, there's loads of things available. So find them and actually set the intention that you are going to come out of this as a different person. I don't know what it means for you. Staying the same, if you say staying the same is not an option, then commit to that.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you used the word opportunity in that, because that's exactly what I also wanted to ask about, is what opportunities do you see during this time? And you've described a few already. Is there any others that you think opportunities we can take? You kind of described what happens afterwards. Are there any opportunities in the situation right now that you think are open and available to us?
Oh, absolutely. So getting into the health coaching, look at the foods that you're eating, because, you know, the supermarkets are open, but you have a choice how you eat. Really focus on building your immune system. And that only, you know, that's not just about getting into the fresh air, but it's also about what you're eating. So get rid of the sugar. You really, really do not need to eat those cakes. And yeah, they're great, but also they give you a bit of a big low.
Yeah.
And if you start going into that kind of yo-yo, it's not a good place. So really watch what you're eating and go, you know, eat lots of greens and just experiment with food and notice what foods really lift you up. This is a good opportunity to do that and have fun in the kitchen with your kids, on your own. You know, it could be that 5-minute quiet time. And I still say to people, although you're together, you still need to make time for you, to just have that space for you, that you do something for you that you enjoy. Even my ritual, regardless of now, but I'm still going to do it, Sundays is my morning to have like a little mini spa. So it's just, you know, just getting a scrub or just something, you know, getting maybe a face pack or something that you just spend some time on pampering yourself.
Yeah.
And I just do that every Sunday, you know. So introduce new things if you haven't already done them, you know, things that make you feel good as well.
So I'd like to start ending things on a high note. We've talked about the doom and gloom, although I don't think there's actually very much doom and gloom in that at all. There was a lot of optimism in that.
Not at all. And stay safe, obviously, you know, abide by the rules. Don't go into contact, don't go out, you know, that's the biggest thing.
So yes, I'd like to round off on kind of some big themes. The first of which is, what are you grateful for, Sera?
What am I grateful? Gosh, there's so much. I'm grateful for where I am currently. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for both of them. They're so unique that they're just completely polar opposites, really. I'm grateful for my health. And I'm grateful for the people in my life. And I say that with sincerity, because I'm grateful for what they give me as well as what they take away. So in that, going back to the ones that suck your energy and the ones that lift you up. So knowing that, because when we come into contact with people, we start having a communication. We either feel really great or we feel the sense of, oh, I don't feel comfortable. So there's a reflection of yourself in the other person. So you can instantly see what is it that is slightly uncomfortable there. So I'm grateful for those that have shown me to be a better person as well, and to and I'm grateful for just, I feel I've got a second life in a way. So it's not a life that I had planned when I got married and, you know, decided to start a family. That obviously has changed. So I'm great, and this I consider a second life. So I'm grateful I've got the opportunity to serve and to be able to help others, because my mission is to help so many women across the globe, because no one needs to be feeling the way they're feeling. Not now, not today, ever. And I'm grateful that I've got the skills and I've got the experience to help so many people.
Moving from gratitude into love, and I think this is so applicable again in the current situation. How do we bring more love into the world?
Kindness. I think we've got to be kind. We've got to start being authentic. I think we've got to be vulnerable. And I think we've just got to say, are you okay? You know, not just when there's campaigns. Because that, for me, although they're great at awareness, I don't feel comfortable with them, because they're not consistent, and they just raise their heads every so often, then they disappear. You know, it just doesn't seem authentic to me. I just want people to just think before they act or they speak, and come from a place of kindness, and come from your heart. Again, it's your heart. So come from your heart as opposed to your head. So just be open, you know, even if, you know, I've often bought a homeless people just a cup of coffee, or not give them money, but give them some food, and just share that act of kindness. And the other thing you could do is pay it forward. With my book, I've just said, you know, I've given it to people, and just say, when you finished it, give it to someone else, and just pay it forward. And just, if we do more acts of kindness, then the love will spread.
My theme at the start of this year, 2020, was vision. Classic creativity there. And the theme was all about kind of clarifying my vision for myself and my business, and helping other people do the same. The great irony of that is that none of us saw any of this coming. So basically, all of my expectations and plans that I set at the beginning of the year, 3/4 of them instantly have disappeared overnight. And I'm in the process of realigning and sort of prioritizing what I'm going to do currently right now, and also thinking ahead to how is the rest of this year going to look. For you, Sarah, what's your 2020 vision? What are you wanting to do for the rest of the year?
Like you, I had a plan. So speaking opportunities, you know, getting a mastermind set up face to face. So yes, so that's obviously gone on a back burner at the moment. It's still there, you know, It will happen. For me, it's about being much more online. So, you know, technology, well, I'm not great with it, I must admit. I get by, but it's becoming more familiar with it, doing a lot more online and getting the connection. For me, the connection is so important, getting people connected with one another, because the most common reason, or the most common theme that are coming through from mothers, is they feel so alone. And, you know, and bringing people together, that's not to say they have a moaning session. That's not the reason. The reason is that they can support each other, and that's what I wanted the masterminds to do. It's how have they overcome certain situations that can teach others that they can do the same as well. So bringing them together, but I've got to do that online now, and it's getting that connection online.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about parenting in this interview, and something that I think is really important is what we're installing in the children of today, because ultimately those who are children right now are really going to inherit this century and how this century looks and the things that change. I want you to imagine that you've got a young child, 5 years old, in front of you, and you're going to say something to this child to prepare them for the life that they're going to live, and to try and get the best out of the life that they live. what would you be saying to that child?
I wouldn't necessarily be saying to them, I'd be involving them. So I'd be asking questions such as, it could be things of, you know, what do you think you want to be when you're grown up? You know, and get them to imagine what that will look like. And then, you know, look at different images and, you know, explore with them that kind of, that vision for them, really. So I would always lead from there. I would always take their lead as opposed to imposing my own views. So, I mean, children are so creative, aren't they? You know, some of them want to be astronauts or whatever. But the thing is that the underlying message is not about being an astronaut. It's about their minds and how they're so imaginative. That is a skill that takes them into adulthood. And it's actually, again, getting back to no limits, that is subconsciously giving them that skill, really. Yeah. So it's about kind of, you know, as I say, taking their lead, really, but with an underlining, I suppose, message and outcome for as an adult, really, that you're installing a skill for them.
I'm glad you gave that answer. When I first started asking that question, I said, what advice would you give to them? And I got a few non-answers in that respect, in terms of, well, we tell our children far too much who they should be and what they should do. So actually, I think we need to stop telling our children what to do and stop giving them sort of ideas and directions. So I've changed it to, what would you say to the child? Because I think it gives you more of this open expansion to do exactly what you did, where it's actually, well, I'll just be asking them questions. I wouldn't try to give them some sort of life advice to go on with. So thank you for your non-answer. It's, the question is open to those such non-answers.
Okay, others might not agree, you know, but that's my views. Not saying it's right or wrong, you know.
So moving from the start of life to the end of life, when you get to the end of your life many years from now, and you look back over the life that you've lived, what legacy do you want to have left during the time that you were given on Earth?
I want to make such an impact that actually changes the whole landscape of how mothers are treated globally. As I say, my mission is to impact those mothers and actually let them have a voice, because they have a voice, of course they have, but yet their voice is sometimes masked or doesn't actually get listened to, really, as they want. So my legacy is to have what I see as my vision is to have all these little hubs around the world where everybody is doing not a program, but actually installing that ethos of the mother, and actually looking at the mother as a woman and what the woman represents, really, as a human being. What is it that they're actually put on this earth to do? Because mothers are not just mothers. Mothers are not put on this earth to just be mothers. You know, there are other, my belief is anyway. So my legacy is to leave such an impact on the world, and also my daughter, to allow her to also know that she can leave her own legacy as well, because that's really, really important. And she's starting to write her own talks as well, and actually share her message, because I think she's got a really powerful message, really, that could help a lot of, you know, disabled young people who perhaps haven't got parents who are supporting, or, you know, that have the right kind of support mechanism around them, You know, so she's doing that. So I want her to create her own legacy as well. So that would be my legacy as well. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Very much in line with that. For people who've been listening to our conversation today and they resonate with what you're saying, they're going through a similar situation, they want some help, some support, some advice, where would you direct people to find out a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so I've got a website which is serajohnston.com, and Sera is SERA and then Johnston JOHNSTON.com. I'm on Facebook, and that's Sera Johnston Coaching and Development. I'm on Instagram, which is just Sera Johnston. LinkedIn, again, Sera Johnston. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not comfortable with Twitter.
Overrated.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with Twitter. So on my website, you can just send me a message. I offer everybody who contacts me that wants a conversation a free, just a consultation where I just help them and give them one or two kind of tips, advice, coaching, free of charge. So have a look at my website, have a read. My 2 books are on there as well. Dana's Walk, and the second one was co-authored about transforming your life. And I think that's about it. I don't think I'm anywhere else.
That's fairly comprehensive. Absolutely.
And I do run a meetup as well, but obviously that's not happening at the moment. So I'm on meetup as well.
Well, Sera, I'd just like to thank you for joining us today. I've particularly resonated with, I used the word tenacity earlier, and that's what's really stood out for me in everything that you've said, is this tenacity, this determination to find a way, find a solution. And I think that's such an important message for right now, is find a way, find a solution, and it's there if you try, and it's there if you look.
Absolutely. There's no excuses. I would just end. No, if you say there is no excuse, you're not going to find one.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us today, Sera.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
To continue to help you through this isolation period, I've decided to open up my Author Your Life Academy for free for the next 3 months. Author Your Life is my online educational community where you can access training sessions, workshops, and question and answers, and connect with other people around the world who are going through this situation and trying to make the best of things. The Academy normally costs $27 a month to subscribe, but for the next 3 months, I'm going to open that up for free. Essentially, you're getting a 3-month free trial of the platform. To access the Author Your Life Academy, go to authoryourlife.org/academy, and when prompted, enter the code CORONA in block capitals. Yes, what else would the code be? CORONA in block capitals, and that will take your $27 subscription down to $0 for the next 3 months. The Academy is where I'm going to be focusing a lot of my content during this difficult time. It's where I'm trying to bring people together to help and support each other as we go through this period of isolation, of fear, of uncertainty. I hope the Academy is something that will be able to help you too during this situation. So if you want to come in and join us, as I said, go to authoryourlife.org/academy, and when you sign up, enter the code CORONA, and that will give you 3 months for free. It's my gift to you to try and help and support during this time as best I can. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it hugely if you could head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the podcast. With your review, please be as honest and detailed as you can be, because with honest and detailed feedback, that helps me to adapt and grow this podcast to most serve you, the listener. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, then make sure you subscribe to the podcast. That way you aren't going to miss any of the future episodes that we've got lined up for you. Until next time, remember that you are the author of your life. You hold the pen, and you can write whatever script you want for yourself. So go out today and write yourself a beautiful story.